L1s were the strongest performers of last cycle. We know that coins like Solana, Phantom, AVAX went up by like 100, 200, 300, 400x. Some L1s even went up 1000x. So now for the next cycle, let's look at a potential rotation here, because if L1s were so powerful last cycle, so strong last cycle, then venture capital will be rotating capital into new L1s and upcoming L1s that could potentially exhibit the same gains. And I think this does present a massive opportunity for you guys and the community as a whole to get into these projects early and pay attention to the new L1s, which could potentially overtake the old batch. Now, that won't always be the case, but I do think there are a few exciting L1s which we have to keep our eye on, which could exhibit pretty nice gains in the future. So let's just have a look at some of them today. I'm going to be going through 5 of the most exciting new layer 1 projects that are launching, that have heavy backing and that I think could perform well. And I'm also going to show you guys how you can get involved, because obviously I know you're not a VC. I'm not a VC either. So how can retail actually participate without having to buy in on the ICO date for a potentially heavily inflated price, and also go a little bit through the valuations there. Just quickly, I saw a very, very funny comment from ARC15. The ones who know what this comment means will know. But basically, I woke up this morning and I was shocked with what was on my Twitter feed. So if anyone wants to check their Twitter, you're going to see a lot of horse jokes today. I won't say exactly what the CEO of SushiSwap did, but I think you get the picture if you scroll through Twitter this morning. So let's get straight into the show and talk about L1s. Before we get into the L1 narrative, the DeFi Investor highlights a few. I've also got a few that I've highlighted as well. We know the trading copy is starting in like a week now. Actually, it starts in just a week's time. So it's very, very, very exciting. Of course, you can register slightly into the competition, but I highly recommend getting set up with an account now if you aren't, because we're giving away up to $100,000 in prizes. It's the biggest trading competition that we've done. It's bigger and better than the last trading comp. And I'm actually going to be taking part in this one. So last one, I kind of did it a bit, but I'm not the biggest trader, so I didn't get too involved. This time, I'm genuinely going to be putting a lot more effort in. I'm going to be working with my team to set up some nice trades. So it's pretty exciting. So if you want to trade with Sheldon, me, and Ran, it's going to be an awesome competition. There is a link in the description to sign up and potentially win up to $100,000 in prizes under this prize pool. You can see the prize pool on BitGet is also 55,000. So massive, massive, massive competition. All you need to get started is $250. So $250 to potentially win. I think it's $10,000 or $15,000 first prize. It's pretty good. It's definitely worth a go in my opinion. So I will be getting involved with that next week. Links in the description. You do need a Banter ByBit account. So if you are going to join, you can do so using the Banter ByBit or the Banter BitGet link in the video description. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and I'll keep you guys updated with what I'm doing in that trading comp over the next few weeks. Let's get straight into the meat of this show. The first upcoming L1 is one you guys have probably heard a lot about. It's called Aptos. It's a new blockchain founded by Aptos Labs. And the easiest way to think about Aptos is that it's the previous iteration of a blockchain that was started to be developed by Facebook or Meta platforms. So it was the project that they launched and it kind of went defunct. So a few of the founding members of Aptos actually decided to branch off and start their own blockchain. A few highlightable notes about Aptos is it's capable, or it should be capable eventually, of 160,000 TPS transactions per second, which is extremely high compared to other blockchains. I think Solana has a target of like 120. So theoretically, this can handle more. They've only done that on testnet though. So TPS numbers come with a major grain of salt, but it's still pretty interesting. They have a $350 million backing from FTX, Coinbase, A16, so Andreessen Horowitz, Multicoin Capital, and more. And they have a very interesting new programming language which they are building on called Move. And the Move programming language has really launched this new spawn of L1s. So notably Aptos and Sui, which is the next major L1 that's launching on the Move programming language. And it's very, very interesting because it's kind of powering a unique way of looking at how they can actually create a blockchain. And this has led to some very interesting tech developments on the technology side. So I did a whole thread on the actual tech. I don't want to get too technical in today's video, but if you want to look into the benefits of Move, the memory safe, quick dev testing, expressive characteristics of Move, you can look through the tech in my thread. And I also have links to other pieces of data and why Aptos' tech is actually superior to a lot of blockchains. I would say it's on a similar level to like a near protocol. I'd say that theoretically on paper, it does look like it could be better than Solana in many ways. However, the thing is, until these blockchains launch, we don't really see the fundamental underlying issues, because a lot of the time they need to launch, they need to get some transaction volume running through them, and then we can see what actually works and what doesn't. So with Aptos and Sui, it's going to really be a proof in the pudding scenario, but it is impressive tech. And I think what's even more impressive is the 8,000 developers currently in the Aptos Discord server, which has 63,000 members. Now, if we look at the social data, Aptos comes in as number 3 out of any blockchain in terms of Twitter followers and Discord members, which is crazy because it hasn't even launched yet. So clearly it has a lot of backing behind it. It does have a bit of Facebook hype. It's got that massive $350 development. They did a $200 million funding round earlier in the year. They quadrupled their valuation in 6 months. So it looks like this will launch with a multi-billion dollar valuation. When it does ICO, I would expect it to be inside the top 5. So that is Aptos, and then obviously its partner is Sui by Miston Labs, which is another L1 under the Move programming language, which just raised $300 million in September. So Sui is actually the slightly more backed project than Aptos. And if you actually look at the funding numbers, they have the slightly more impressive funding rounds. I think both look like good projects. They're actually quite similar. They're going after very different goals, though. One is more of a UI-focused blockchain, and one is more of a tech-focused blockchain, more of a blockchain maybe more suited to enterprise applications. So they're both very interesting, and the landscape of Sui is looking quite cool. I mean, it hasn't even launched yet, and we've already seen many protocols starting to build. We have 5 DEXs, 5 DeFi protocols, over 8 gaming protocols, NFT protocols, 8 NFT marketplaces, 8 tools and infrastructure. So you can see that this massive funding is coming to good use because they can actually onboard users. And one of the way they're doing this is through their latest $300 million valuation, which puts the company value at over $2 billion. That's a massive valuation, guys, for a new L1. There's clearly a lot of backing behind it. Now, if we scroll down to the bottom of this document, I highly recommend checking this out, by the way. It's called Miston Labs and Sui versus Aptos and other L1s. This will give you a more comprehensive overview of the key differences before Aptos, before Sui. I put them in the same basket because they both move. They both have a lot of hype behind them. They both have similar investors. Sam Bankman-Fried, he's invested in both of these projects. So I kind of put them in the same category, but they do have major differences, and most notably the tokenomics. The way these chains actually accrue value is quite different. They process differently through different stake types. And they both have their own proprietary proof of stake mechanisms. So this is Sui's tokenomics here, and later in the piece, they go over Aptos's tokenomics. But I think what is interesting to look at is this, and this is the social data from the blockchains, and we can see that Sui comes in. Aptos comes in at number 3, and Sui comes in at number 6 for Twitter followers and Discord members and GitHub development, which is pretty crazy because this is a brand new blockchain. They haven't even launched yet, and they already have the 3rd and the 5th most Twitter followers, as well as some of the most GitHub commits, meaning developer commits, so active development of any blockchain. So this is why I say that they are genuine threats to Solana. We can see that Solana's number 1. I obviously envision a multi-chain future, so I don't think any L1 can permanently displace another L1. I mean, it does happen, but something like a Solana with a robust ecosystem, I personally see Solana as something that's here to stay as an ecosystem, but they have genuine competition. And if Aptos and Sui can succeed with their deep pockets, it's pretty obvious where some of the users are going to go. And that's why I think Aptos and Sui will be 2 very prominent L1s in the future. And I am quite bullish on them. The only thing I'm not bullish on is the fact that A, they are very hyped, and B, by the time they launch, that hype is probably going to translate into an overflated valuation. Because if they raise $2 billion, we can probably predict that they're going to raise, let's say, that they might launch at like a $5 to $10 billion valuation, depending on the market, what the market's doing. I mean, Solana's 11 billion, DOT is 7 billion. If they've raised 2, we know VCs need to make money. So it'll raise, it'll actually launch a lot higher than that. So I think they'll be genuinely top 20 contenders here, probably above Chainlink and Near, and they might slot straight into the top 10 or 15. If that's the case, then they might start to look a little bit overvalued. But if they do launch slightly lower, there definitely could be an opportunity on launch date to get involved. It will just entirely depend on what the numbers are telling us and what the market caps are doing. So 2 very exciting projects. And at the end of this video, by the way, I will show you my strategy for getting involved, because I know a lot of you, you're like, okay, cool, they're good projects, but how do I actually buy them? How do I get involved early before they launch? I'm going to show you at the end of this video just a few simple tips that you can start implementing now to get your hands on a potential ICO or a potential airdrop. So I'll be going over that at the end of the video. I do have a thread on getting a Sui airdrop as well that I'll show you at the end, but I'm going to go through the other 3 L1s quickly now. There's Sei network, which is a layer 1 blockchain designed for trading. Sei is actually built on the Cosmos SDK, so it's another example of the Cosmos ecosystem coming to light. We've seen many amazing projects launch on Cosmos over the last few weeks. Sei is no different. It is essentially the first decentralized NASDAQ, they're dubbing it. So it's like a blockchain, but it's got a pure trading focus. Why is this so cool? Why do I like Sei? Sei is a very interesting proposition because we know how prominent trading is as an industry, and trading something that's not going away. Trading, the overall trading pool, not just from retail interest, but from institutional interest, is only increasing. Crypto trading is becoming a very, very popular industry, and it's definitely something that is even more abundant during the bear market. Maybe not in terms of pure volume, although we did see an all-time high in Bitcoin volume, but just in terms of people need to make money. And if you can't make money off speculating on meme coins, you can probably make money off trading, because trading is a skill. If you can learn, it's theoretically bear market and bull market resistant if you can trade both sides of the market with no bias. And that's why trading blockchains are cool, because if you can actually harness the power of that massive industry, if you can become a chain that is suited for enterprise use cases in terms of trading, you're going to be a successful chain. So it's pretty exciting how they optimize for trading and also DeFi. And it's definitely something that I'm looking at as an ecosystem that can build out over time. And they are integrating the Cosmos ecosystem as leverage. So we saw the tokenomics update from the Cosmos Hub last week. Very cool video I did on that, which gives you the insight into what 2.0 is. But they are integrating with the IBC and the Cosmos Hub. So it is going to be cool to see this integration. So Cosmos integration is a tick, funding is a tick, and tech is a tick, and the use case is a tick. We can see their backers here. They raised $5 million in their latest funding round. Pales in comparison to what Aptos and Sui are doing, but this also won't launch in the top 10 or the top 20. This will launch much, much, much further down. So this could be one that has slightly less hype, that could potentially be a decent play for those who think Sui and Mist are overvalued if they do end up launching how we think they'll launch. So Sei becomes a pretty tantalizing proposition. This will be launching later in the year. If you want more details, they do have a Twitter page. They are focusing on a launch, I think either later in the year or next year. Once I said at the end of the video, I'll show you how to get involved with these. They have a $50 million ecosystem fund, pretty large ecosystem fund. And I think that draws a very interesting comparison to what Solana did in June 4th, 2021, before they launched. They also launched a $20 million fund to advance the ecosystem. And we just know how successful their funds were in terms of incentivizing developer growth. So they launched a $20 million fund. Obviously, the landscape's become a lot more competitive since then, so the numbers do scale accordingly. But Solana had a lot of success through that, and I think blockchains launching incentives funds are always a major bonus. So 50 million, not as big as something like a Near Protocol, which has a whopping $800 million fund, more than 10x the size of the Sei fund, but still very interesting nonetheless. And then the fourth one I wanted to talk about, and there is a fifth one, but this is Berachain. Some of you may have heard about this, and it's an EVM-Compatible chain built on top of Cosmos. It has a proof of liquidity consensus, so you can stake blue chips, you can stake Ethereum, Bitcoin to secure the chain. So some chains, and most proof-of-stake chains, need you to stake the base token in order to receive validator rewards. Berachain's very interesting because theoretically, you can stake ETH or Bitcoin, earn money on ETH and Bitcoin, and secure the network. So yes, it does remove one way that the chain accrues value, and that would be through the demand for staking. But it also increases, or it's touted to increase, the amount of general interest in the chain, because Bitcoin fans, Ethereum holders, they could potentially use this chain to stake and earn rewards in a fairly safe environment that might be safer than going with a CeFi or a dodgy DeFi application. So liquidity as a service is very interesting because of the capital efficiency it offers. So as an ETH staker on Berachain, your staked Ethereum will be provided to the native AMM, so market maker of the chain. You can earn rewards from LP fees and stake while ensuring deep liquidity on the chain's AMM. Very interesting. They don't know when the launch is. Just to go back on the Sei point, the mainnet launch for Sei is end of 2022. The launch for Sui and Aptos, I believe, is unknown, but Aptos's launch is planned for next autumn. So just to give you a timeline, most of these, you can always assume delays with L1s. So basically all of these, in my opinion, will launch next year. So you've got a few months now to get involved and potentially get your hands on an airdrop or an ICO. Berachain's interesting, and it also has this crazy like NFT ecosystem. I think this is like what's given it this meme culture or this meme value in the public eye. But Berachain essentially does have a very interesting NFT marketplace, and they've got this project called Bongs Bears, which looks pretty interesting as well. So that's one of the major use cases for Berachain. And here's just a little more information on Bong Bears NFT, if you're interested in that. And there's definitely something a lot of you guys are interested in. So yeah, give Berachain a follow on your Twitter. I haven't done this on this account, but I'll give it a follow now because it looks like a cool project. I've just got my eyes on it. And then the fifth one, the fifth L1 that is launching is also a very interesting one. It's similar to Say in many ways, but it's a bit different. It's called Celestia. And I'll just give you the top 5 TLDR points on what Celestia is. A, Celestia improves scalability by separating the 3 core functions of a blockchain. Celestia is a modular consensus and data network. 2, Celestia doesn't execute every transaction that happens. 3, Celestia provides consensus and security on demand. So it is a security-focused blockchain. This allows anyone the ability to deploy a blockchain without the overhead of creating a new consensus network. So it operates a little bit differently to, say, like what an AVAX subnet would do. It essentially provides that on-chain security, allowing people to deploy blockchains overhead, kind of like what you do on a Cosmos, but a little bit different. Developers have the flexibility to define their own execution layers. So I think like it just looks like a very flexibility-focused chain to me, which is cool because we need that, especially to incentivize new development. You always need to have a blockchain which is flexible and can accommodate different types of development. That's why Cosmos, by the way, has been so successful because of its flexibility and the interoperability that entire ecosystem offers. Celestia doesn't validate transactions, so its throughput is not bottlenecked by state execution. Interesting blockchain, low funding, very different from the Aptoses and the Suis that I mentioned earlier. But I'm giving you Celestia and Berachain as other options because I think A, they will launch lower. 2, they are less hyped. So if you can't get into Sui, maybe one of these you can get into. And I do think we will see some hype for these as well at some point. So we know how big L1s are. We know how prominent they were last cycle. To me, although L1s aren't necessarily the be-all and end-all next cycle, I think it'll be the new projects which can outperform because your Solanas, yes, they have very developed ecosystems. Your Polkadots, yes, they have developed ecosystems. They have big communities, so that lowers the inherent risk of investing in them as projects. But they've already run and they already have massive valuation. So if you look from a pure risk-reward perspective, some of the newer L1s I think can be very, very attractive. And I do think Celestia is very interesting with its modular blockchain design. They have very low funding, though. They have very, very low funding, so it's just an interesting proposition. Okay, so you guys have heard the 5 projects: Sui, Aptos, Celestia, Berachain, as well as Say. Obviously, Aptos and Sui look like the best projects out of this list because they are the ones with the most development. They're the ones with the most interesting ecosystems, but they'll launch with the biggest valuation. So I think next, Say Network. I kind of did it in order of preference. Maybe I put Berachain last, but I do like Say Network a lot. I just like their trading and DeFi focus. Someone that's really into DeFi personally sees the value in having a chain that can accommodate that. Coming in at number 4, obviously, we have Berachain and Celestia as well. Celestia and Berachain look very cool, but they don't have a lot of funding. So they're not like those other ones I talked about earlier. But all of these projects in their respective ways will give opportunities for getting airdrops and will give opportunities for getting into these projects before they launch. So there's a few tips here that Dolphin gave us on how to get an airdrop for Aptos Labs. So one of the ways you can get an airdrop, because you guys got to remember when these projects give airdrops, they give airdrops to users that have used the projects before a specific cutoff date. So what usually happens is a project will say, yes, we're giving an airdrop, but we're going to backdate this airdrop to whoever used the project within the first 6 months of the testnet going live. So typically, the people that get the airdrops for these chains are the ones that were using testnet or the ones that were using mainnet in the very, very, very early stages. Now, we know how competitive these chains will be to get airdrops. So I think the number one way to get an airdrop for one of these chains, and we can see Berachain here as well, would be to start using the testnet. So there's an article to the incentivized testnet here on the Medium. You can view this through Dolphin's tweet, and there is an incentivized testnet which you can register. There's 6 steps to register. So you need a Discord account, you create an account, provide your email and username, install a validator node, download the Petra wallet. There's steps here. If you're really serious about getting an airdrop, it's going to take a little bit of work, but I would definitely recommend getting inside the Discord and starting to register. Actually, the testnet here concluded in September 9, but the Discord did have another testnet incentives program. So definitely check out the Discord. Definitely check out the Discord because all the information on a potential airdrop will be there. Berachain, on the other hand, they're also through the Discord, so you can get on their honey list, which is the biggest NFT project. I think this is really what has driven the hype behind Berachain. One of the ways to get the airdrop is obviously just to interact in the Discord and be a useful member of the community. The thing with airdrops is they're not easy for a reason. They don't want, think about it from the project's perspective, they don't want everyone to get access to the project for free. They only want to reward the biggest fans and the biggest supporters of the project. So if you're serious about Aptos or Sui or Say, whatever network, you obviously got to do your own research, but whatever network you like, you need to be a little bit serious here. Now, there's a few tips I can give you to get serious and implement that probably only would take 20 minutes of work a day, but you need to stick to it and schedule this stuff in because this stuff's important. And I have a routine every single morning when it comes to Discord, when it comes to Telegram. And I think you should implement a similar thing if you do want to get these airdrops. And what this is a multifaceted social media strategy. So I have a few tips here, but I'll probably give you the most pertinent ones for airdrops. The first one is Twitter lists. You guys have an amazing feature built into Twitter, which is going to allow you to essentially organize your entire feed based on alpha. And what is this? Well, it's Twitter lists. If you click on more and you click on, oh my goodness me, all these horse jokes. If you can lead a horse to water, you can finger it. Oh my goodness. I also did a horse joke as well. I couldn't help myself. It was too funny this morning. It's crazy waking up to that. But what was I saying? I'm getting distracted by horse stuff. This is what I'm talking about, guys. The entire feed is horses. Horse joke, Sushi Swaps tweeting horses, Kobe's tweeting about horses, Trader Z's tweeting about horses, Fubar's tweeting about horses. Everyone's tweeting about horses. Jared Gray's even tweeting about horses. He's the horse guy. The whole feed is just horses. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But anyway, I'm getting super distracted. This is the problem with Twitter. This actually, funnily enough, emphasizes the point I was about to make. And my point is you need to cut out the distractions on Twitter and you need to create a curated Twitter feed, which is hilarious because literally I just proved why you need to do this because Twitter is too confusing if you're just scrolling through your home feed because of all this DB's even joining in on the fun. Fuck. So you go to your Twitter lists and start a new Twitter list. And what's starting a new, guys, just go, if you want to know what I'm talking about, just go on Twitter. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Don Rhino asked about Velas. Velas is a pretty cool project, actually. But that's like a Solana fork. So these are like new mechanisms. These are all launching with new proof of stake, proof of history mechanisms. Solana or Velas specifically is like a fork. So you're not getting anything particularly new, but they are pretty heavily funded. And it does look like an ecosystem which could succeed. But at the same time, like, with any new L1, there's going to be inherent risk, and Velas is something that it hasn't got an adoption yet. So it's hard for me to give like a comprehensive overview of something like a Velas, but it's something I'll continue to research because it is an exciting project, and I did a video on it a few months ago. It's definitely one that could be an interesting competitor to Solana. Obviously, though, these other ones will have the upper hand. Create a Twitter list just for airdrops. This was going to be my point. So I have multiple pinned lists. The list I gave you guys last week was an alpha list, which is a list of some of my favorite creators on Twitter, but that's more of a creator list. So that's something I'll scroll through to engage with people that I like, to see content from people I like. You can also start up new lists where you can have a specific airdrop list. So you can literally call it airdrops, or what I would probably call it is upcoming projects. And this list would consist of content creators, individuals inside the ecosystems and the ecosystems themselves. So let's just go next and let's give you an example of how I would do this. All right, so I would pick, so anytime an upcoming project launches, I would start prioritizing the top creators in the ecosystem. For example, with Aptos, you have Austin, which is a director of ecosystem that joined. All of these guys are on my thread. There's a couple other. You got Trace. Trace does a lot of coverage on these ecosystems as well. You basically can just scan Twitter and find some of these guys that are doing a lot of research on these guys. So if you search the Aptos ticker on Twitter and you sort by date, you can see who was talking about it early, and you can follow these people. You've got Avatar.eth. I don't know if he covers just Aptos, but there's definitely great accounts that cover just Aptos and Sui. So I would be following those accounts. I would also be joining the major projects in these ecosystems. So you can follow Aptos Labs, you can follow Sui, and you can start to add them to your Twitter list as well. And I also have, all of this is in my thread, by the way, because I have a lot of resources for you. I have the Sui Aptos comparison. State.io does a lot of content as well. He did a comprehensive list. I think I gave credit to the original author here, but Tala Labs. But we do have 5 projects launching as well. So if you want to look at these 5 projects, they're Pontum Network, Martian Wallet, Vial Protocol, which is the money market, and Switchboard. So what you would basically do is it would take you about an hour, by the way, to do this, and it's well worth the time investment. You go through the major threads, you go through the major creators, you look at the ecosystem, you look at the major projects. I've given you guys the ecosystem so you guys can see the major projects here for Sui. And just go through and follow them, or the ones you like. Don't follow everything, but follow the creators you like that are posting good content. Follow the projects you like that are posting, and you're going to see them on your Twitter list. So guess what? If MoveX, you like it, for example, on Sui, and it ends up announcing an airdrop program, and you're scrolling through your Twitter list one day, and you have and you're following them right there, you're going to see exactly when that airdrop's launching. So you're never going to be out of the loop. And this is why curating Twitter feeds is so important. So you can create individual feeds for individual projects, or you can loop them all in one. So you can have multiple projects under one Twitter list. Now, the process I just showed you for getting a good Twitter list for Aptos applies to all these other ecosystems, right? It applies for Sui. It applies for the Berachain. It applies for Say. It applies for Celestia. It applies for all of these projects. You find the best creators, you find the best projects, and you add them to a Twitter list. And every single day, you schedule a time of your day where you scroll, and you don't just scroll for the sake of scrolling. You scroll to learn, and you scroll to engage with the communities. This is the awesome thing about being in a bear market. And this is the reason why being in a bear market actually isn't so bad, because you now have access to these projects and the developers that you wouldn't have access to in the bull market. Guys, in the bull market, there is a million idiots that come into the market. And honestly, most of us were them. Like, I was one in many ways. I got in not this cycle, but last cycle. And I was one of those idiots that got sucked in because of the hype and the lure to make money. And I know a lot of you are the same as well. So we'll have a new flood of people that come in next cycle that are in the exact same position that we were in, and then they don't know anything about the market. They're just there to make money, and they'll come into the market, and essentially they'll start interacting with these projects because they see they're pumping. But at that point, there's so much saturation that it's hard to break through the pack. Whereas in the bear market, you now have unfettered access to these communities, the devs, the projects, the community members. You can develop real connections in these ecosystems now. And this is the best thing about doing stuff like this in a bear market. So Twitter lists, number one tip, seriously, get organized on Twitter. It is fantastic if you can get organized on Twitter, because it is going to help you guys out so much. And the other tip, which is just as big, in fact, bigger than the Twitter tip, but they go hand in hand because Twitter helps you with the Discord stuff, is organizing your Discord into folders. It's so simple. Join upcoming projects Discords. I just showed you this. 80,000 members in the Aptos and Miston Discords. 80,000 members. Join their Discord channels. Join any upcoming projects channel and put them into folders. Organize folders. Upcoming L1s, upcoming NFTs, any upcoming project, they're going to have a Discord. Where do you think those developers are going to prioritize giving their community the news and the updates and the airdrop news? They're going to do that on their Discord. Then not all of them are just going to tweet, oh, hi, we're giving out an airdrop next week. No, they're going to give them to their most loyal followers, and they're going to let you know, and you're going to know about a potential airdrop or a public round. So airdrops are when you get tokens from just utilizing the ecosystem. Public rounds is where they'll actually allow you to invest. So many projects, yes, they give money to VCs. Yes, they give money to their marketing budget. But then what they'll do is they'll usually have like a 10 to 15% or sometimes 5% public round where they allow community members, public members like you, like retail, to get involved in the launch. You might be able to invest like $300 in the project, and that could be worth like, I don't know, $3,000 when it launches. And sometimes they even allow you to invest up to $1,000 plus. So if you're in the Discord and you're keeping up to date with it, you're going to hear if there's a public round as well, which will potentially allow you to invest. And this has happened many times when I've been in a Discord and been offered public round just for being there. And that's even before I was a content creator. You guys know if you're a content creator, you probably get to skip the list a little bit because they want to prioritize marketing a lot of these projects. But even before I was a content creator, I was getting these offers on my Discord and on my Telegram just because I was in these communities. So I know it works. You just need to put in a little bit of time and just get a little bit consistent. So just organize your Twitter list, organize your Discord channels, and just spend half an hour a day doing it. What is half an hour a day for engaging in a community, being part of a community, getting the latest updates, genuinely learning about blockchain? It's nothing. It's like you probably watch 2 hours of Netflix a day. Like simply just cut out half an episode and you've got literally unfettered time to involve yourself in these ecosystems, which is, I don't know. As a crypto nerd, I find that quite a fun and entertaining proposition. Maybe to some of you, you won't, but in a year's time, when we hear about these crazy airdrops that potentially were launched on these blockchains and the crazy public rounds and people making 10 on 100x's, you're probably going to wish you at least paid a little bit of attention back 4 to 5 months before they launched. And, it's quite funny in crypto. Like we talk about projects that have already pumped. For example, I love Solana. So I talk about Solana, but, a lot of the criticism I get in my Solana, some of my Solana posts is like, and not just this, but any big ecosystem like Ethereum. It's like, Miles, stop tweeting about Ethereum. We know Ethereum's big. Like, give us the next big 100x. Like, we don't want to know about something that's already pumped. And I'm telling you, like, this is the way to find shit that hasn't pumped. But then you'll share tips like this, like genuine alpha tips, and then people will say, oh, it takes too much work. It's not easy enough. So it's like, people aren't willing to put in the effort to get those next 100x's, but they are also the first ones to complain when you post about an ecosystem that's already developed because it's not exciting enough or it doesn't have enough return. So it's like, guys, nothing comes free in crypto. And this is the problem with crypto in general. Everyone just thinks they can just get free money. Like, oh, I can just be here like, an hour every month and suddenly just get access to all these projects. It's like, no, if you want to get airdrops and you want to get public rounds for these projects, you have to be in their communities. It's just like a no-brainer. You have to be in their communities, and it's going to take a little bit of effort, but it's well worth it. And even if you don't end up getting an airdrop, trust me, it is worth it to be in these communities for the alpha side of things. Like Hustle's NFT project, that gaming alpha is insane. It's called This Thing of Ours. That's a very good community as well. So shout out to Hustle. Also Neo Tokyo. I'm a part of Neo Tokyo. That's an amazing gaming collective. I'm also part of many other groups as well. And I find that is one way to stay motivated in this market. Very hard to stay motivated if you don't have others by your side. So that is why I recommend doing that. Thank you everyone for supporting. Layer Zero partner with Aptos. Very, very bullish. Very cool. Info overload. Yeah, I'm sorry. There's a lot of info. I mean, I did just scan over 5 projects. I've already done an in-depth video on Sui. It's called SBF's latest buy. I think you could search that on YouTube and you can get my full in-depth review on that. I just kind of skimmed over the details today to make it easier. You think DAG cryptos will beat traditional blockchains? To this date, they actually are some of the fastest and most reliable consensuses. Phantoms like Lachesis, Byzantine fault tolerance consensus is very good. So, and that's a DAG. And so is Hedera Hashgraph. But yeah, I don't know. Sui feels like they are handing out some influencer money lately. Well, can I actually tell you that I don't think they are? They might be. Like, I wouldn't know. But for example, I have the biggest Sui thread to date. Or is it Aptos? Well, I actually did a thread on both, but I did more of a big one on Aptos. But yeah, so I did a thread on these. So I did a thread on both Aptos and Sui. And I did my bigger thread on Aptos. And I can tell you right now, I wasn't paid to do it. You also, by the way, you guys know you can't pay me to tweet about, you can't pay me to write a thread on a project. You can't pay me to tweet about projects. That's not really what I do. And if I ever did do it in the future, I would disclose that at the end of a thread. I would say this is a paid thread. I don't like doing it though, because I feel like it really ruins the integrity of my brand. So I stick away from it. So you say influencers are paying out money, and yes, they're paying out money to influencers. And yes, they could, 100% they could, but I did this for free, and look at just how many impressions they got. They got 300,000 impressions from my tweet for free. So they had 3,000 eyeballs on this project. They had 15,000 engagements and 3,500 profile visits from my tweet, which I did for free. Now, if you valued that in dollar terms, like I don't even know, if you went on basic Facebook ad rates, this is probably a $10,000 thread for them. So if they were to pay me, which obviously I would not accept, because as I explained to you, I want to keep my brand clean. But if I were to hypothetically do a paid tweet, this would probably be a more than a $10,000 tweet, right? So they're getting free marketing. And why would an influencer like me give them free marketing? Well, because I like the project. And if you make a quality project and you have an exciting project that people want to know about and learn about, then it doesn't really matter if you don't really need to pay influencers. Now they can, but like Phantom didn't. I tweeted about Phantom. I love some of the DeFi apps on Phantom, and I wasn't paid by Phantom at all. People said I was. People said I was paid to chill. I wasn't. I wasn't paid like a single cent from Phantom. And I was still tweeting about it because I liked it. And it's the exact same with these projects. It's if you make a good product, people are going to tweet about it. So I do agree they're paying money, but it's very interesting. It's very interesting when people say that projects are being paid to shill, because most of the time these creators are just like me. They just want to be the ones breaking the news and posting the best content. And I saw an opportunity to do a thread on Aptos, and I was like, hell yeah, let me do a thread. And I did a massive deep dive because I was super interested and super passionate. So 100%. Influencers will cover it for free. But yeah, sometimes it's hard to tell whether something's paid or not paid. You usually get a good indication as to whether something is or not. Obviously, none of my tweets are paid, and I pride my brand on that. Others may be slightly more accommodating to receiving money for tweeting about projects. I can't tell you if they are or they aren't. I would just hope they disclose it, because you guys saw Kim Kardashian. She came under fire from the SEC for not disclosing when she was promoting a project. She got fined $1.6 million. I would never want to be in that position. So if you're a content creator out there, please, if you're receiving money, disclose the fact you're receiving money, and then you won't get Zach XBT. It's really that damn simple. So if you don't see a disclosure and you think it's paid, probably a fishy sign. But anyway, that's a totally separate discussion, and we could talk about the ins and outs of the crypto content creation business. But I kind of want to keep it more on target here. So let me know, out of these 5 projects, which one you're most excited for in the comments. I'd be very interested to hear that. Some of these are very exciting, and I hope some of the tips I gave in today's video can help you actually start to get more involved in these ecosystems. And yeah, I hope you also had a great weekend. I went away to Sydney. I had some fun. And I'm moving house tomorrow, so I won't be streaming tomorrow, unfortunately. I might do an Instagram stream for a bit of fun, but yeah, I will see you guys on Thursday, actually. And just remember, this trading comp is going to be a shitload of fun. So if you do want to sign up and join, link in the description. I'm very excited, and I think I have a much, much, much better chance this time, because I have a strategy, and I might share that with you guys later in the week. But I have a strategy that I think could work and beat these guys, because I know how Kyle trades. Very conservative. Doesn't like to pull the trigger on many trades. I know how Ran trades. He's an all or nothing kind of guy. So he'll either wipe his account or he will come first or second. So I know how he trades. And then I also know how Sheldon trades. Sheldon loves breakout trading. He loves the breakout of trend lines. He looks for volume, looks for those RSIs. But I think there's flaws in all of their strategies. I think certain markets Sheldon his trading style is not suited to. I think Ran might be a little rash. And I also think Kyle could be too conservative. So I've got a very balanced approach, which I'm thinking of implementing in order to beat these guys. And if I could beat these guys, I mean, guys, I'm not a trader, and I don't claim to be. So just imagine if the non-trader out of Banter actually beat the 3 traders or the 2 traders at Banter. That would be a hilarious story. And I think it's actually possible, to be honest, because I have a very good feel for this market. Like, although I'm not the best TA guy, although I'm not the best at charts, I have a good feel for it, and you kind of develop that feel over time. So I feel like I'm at a point where I can trade a little bit more on intuition, and obviously complements with trend lines and charts. And I think that'll help. But I'm not saying these guys don't, because Rand's been in the industry longer than me. And I know Sheldon's been in the industry for a while as well. But I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I'm a chance. But anyway, let's see. Join if you want. I'm sure on next show, if Rand is watching this, he'll probably berate me for saying that. So let's all keep keep the last 2 minutes of the show a little secret between us. All right, cool. All right, guys. I will see you in the next one in a couple of days. Hope you have a lovely day and enjoyed the show. See you in the next one. Peace.